here to moderate the conversation for the New York City, Dr. Jelani Cobb.
Good evening. So I saw this film a little while ago, and I know I had a lot of emotions swirling around after I saw it, and then even kind of seeing it again now. And I wanted to, I guess, first thing I wanted to ask you all was about what drew you to this story and how you became connected to it. And then Colin, of course, I wanted to ask you after that, what it was like seeing this part of your life on the screen. So I guess we could start with Matt and then kind of work our way down.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming tonight. The movie really doesn't stand a chance without all of you, so we're really grateful. I heard this story on a radio show called This American Life. For those of you who don't know, they're a documentary radio program, and they're incredible storytellers, and I was just totally blown away by Colin and Carl. I wasn't like I had set out to make a film about the criminal justice system. I heard their story one day and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I was just so blown away by what they had been through and how they handled themselves, and how particularly Colin came through it, and how Carl decided that he couldn't live in a world where an innocent guy could be left in prison. He just couldn't accept that. So that was sort of the genesis of it for me.
So Matt made a 5-minute documentary of Colin and Carl, which was just amazing. And I just asked for a script and got a script and asked if I could audition. He let me audition. I got the part. But I connected to it in a few different ways. When I was a kid, between the ages of 13 and 16, I was arrested twice, both times for things I didn't do. And spent a day in a holding cell both times, which is nothing compared to what Colin spent, but at the same time it stays with you. So I just felt like I could have a voice on the issue, and that was the connection.
So, Colin.
Greetings. Greetings. I hope everyone liked the movie, but in liking the movie, I want you to realize that there was a lot of pain and suffering behind the movie. This movie here is for the youth, all the young brothers, and I'm talking about youths 30, 35 years old, right? Because for the grace of God, if you were all in Brooklyn in 1980, you're up here telling this story, right? And for me, it is still going on today. And we as people, taxpayers, voters, right? We have a power that we can make some changes, right? Because me and my homeboy, my brethren Carl King, who will be here in a moment, before the system, New York State, which a lot of you will be scared. No, don't get scared, man. We have power, man. Right? And we can use that power, right? We had nothing. We work with nothing. A lot of faith, right? A lot of people cheating us because nobody want to believe. Everybody think that this is what happened to me is a fantasy. It is not, right? And I believe that if we say America is great, then we want greatness within America, right? You can't just snatch somebody off the streets and throw them away, you know what I'm saying? And that was my fight. They asked me how I stay strong, right? The teachings of my grandmother and father who raised me, which I rejected when they was giving me them teachings. But I found that it's sitting down in a cell, I get to understand what he was trying to tell me. Because you know the West Indian grandparents, they talk in parables. So sometimes we ain't understanding until we're in a situation, say, oh, This is what it means. Say, for instance, my grandma used to make me wash dishes, sew clothes, and I got 2 sisters. And I'm asking, listen, why I gotta do this? I got 2 sisters. And she told me that there may come a point in my life where I won't have anybody to do the simple things I need to do. So I need to do this myself so I will know. And I'm sitting down in a prison and I'm wondering, did she know that I was going to prison? And she was preparing me, right? But we all get teachings, is whether we take it or not, right? And listen, man, we have to be on our guard. I say we are at war, but don't visualize tanks and guns and trenches, man. We're in a mental war, and we got to sharpen up our skills, right? So I tell brothers, listen, you cannot be doing nothing in America right now if you're 24, 25, 26. You have to be on a program, because if you're in a righteous program, you can connect with righteous people and move forward, right? You can't move forward if you just sit still. If you sleep all day, and then you run the blasted streets at night, what are you accomplishing? You're just wasting time. No, it's not the time to waste time. Because you're going to get older, and now you're going to try to fit in society because you can't live on the streets forever.
So, Colin, I wanted to ask you about what it was like to watch this the first time you saw it.
Well, I watched it about 2 times already, and I can't watch it no more. Because it brings down a kind of negative energy that I don't need right now, right? I guess basically because it's my story, and I hope it don't bring a negative energy on your viewers. Or there goes my homeboy, Mr. Carl King. And before I say anything, hold on, this is my wife, and this is my daughter.
So, welcome, Carl.
Thank you. Good night.
So I'll put to you the same question I just asked Colin, which is, what was it like to see this very difficult period in both of your lives? What was it like the first time you saw this film?
It was kind of like memories came back. It was heart-wrenching, kind of deep as far as like soaking it in. But it was a good occasion to know that, you know, these kind of films is being told and that in that capacity. So it was actually a blessing.
So Matt, I guess for everybody, how has the film been received thus far?
I mean, you know, being able to connect with audience has been incredible for us, just having the opportunity to get this film out there. And, you know, we were able to all go to Sundance. If you guys want to talk about that experience. It was a trip for me, just seeing everybody watching this movie with audiences who, you know, it seems like people from all stripes seem to connect to something, which was great for us to see.
And the great thing about the Sundance experience was that these 2 guys who didn't have a voice for 2 decades finally got a chance to get on the microphone like they did today and share their stories. So that was probably the most uplifting moment for us. It really showed us that this is the reason why we make films like this, so that they can have their voice.
I know we have just a little bit of time. I thought there might be 1 or 2 questions from the audience.
My name is Rodney Roberts, from New Jersey, and I can't begin to tell you how difficult it was to watch the movie personally. I just spent the last 17 years wrongly convicted in New Jersey prison. I was released March 12, 2014 through DNA evidence, in which it took years to get the DNA evidence found. They hid it from me for so long. But to look at this movie, the realness, the detail, the pain, the struggling, the feeling of hopelessness you have to fight off to try to maintain that forward path when you know that no one believes you, when you have to stand by yourself. Just the fact when you said every time you prayed that when you opened your eyes you was in the cell, each time you said I had to fight myself and crying. I was right there with you, brother.
Wow.
I know, Carl, that you are still involved in this work, and I also wish, Colin, if there have been other people who've been wrongly convicted, who've reached out to you, just what has your life been like since the period when Colin came home?
It affected me tremendously to see that for 21 years, Colin had to go through this pain. Right now, I just registered a non-for-profit organization. It's called Success to Freedom. I continue to work to look into guys who are wrongfully in prison. So, Colin's story certainly was an inspiration to me and gave me so much strength to know that I can help brothers and sisters who are in the same predicament.
Colin, what was after having been away so long and wrongfully so, what was that transition like to being home and being free?
It was like becoming a baby again. I literally didn't know how to do nothing. Right, as far as the computer age, I was, but with the strength of the family support I had, you know what I'm saying, I'm here now. What you see here is a product of the New York State institutions, right? And I would like to be the exception, right? Because I didn't do anything to go in prison in the first place. So on that level, there's no rehabilitation, right? I'm just glad I'm given opportunity at a so-called second chance at life. And I'm hoping to do the best with it. So for me, what I want from this audience is spread the word, right? Let our people see what's going on. We know what's going on, right? But I am just one of the faces. There's a lot of brothers, you see it just now, you know what I'm saying? There are a lot of us. And it is unconscionable. What? Unconscionable. Yeah, unconscionable. Right? If you feel the truth and don't do nothing about it, then what are you? Right? We have to move. That's the only way things will happen. Move. Right? I should be able to say, oh, you know, you said that guy in 1980, he got convicted unjustly. Oh, that's a thing of the past. You understand what I'm saying? But we can still stay here in 2017. So, what progress have we made on that just one level? Because with us is levels, right? And I say, listen, get a program, get a skill, because you know what? If you're serious, everybody's going to connect eventually. Because we all can't just do one thing, right? So get your trade, schooling if it's the school, and build you, because in building you, you will build us.
Right.
Thank you.
Throughout it all, I think the positive that comes out of it is I feel a huge amount of
Well, let me answer. From my perspective, right, you get involved in whatever organization you feel comfortable with, right? As I said, there's many levels of unfairness that is going on in our society, right? So, in my simplistic terms, listen, just find something that you're comfortable with and put some energy in it. Because there's a lot of people out here need help.
Right.
A lot. You see them all the time on the streets and we pass them straight. Right? But we don't know the situation that led them there. He could have been a blasted teacher in school. You never know. Right? But have compassion. Right? And that is one thing in the movie that I would like people to see. Because without this man's compassion for me, another human being, I wouldn't be here talking to you now. And that is real.
My eldest son is actually a footballer, and I just had a little visit at my house where they tried to discourage me from letting me come home. But I want to say I'm so amazed at your ability to continue to say you're innocent, because a lot of these young men, they get scared, and these lawyers take all your money, and they encourage them to cop a plea and not go to trial. So they never even make it that far. Most of these cases just get recycled in the court system. My son was in there 2 years before he ever got to go to court and push back, and the DA needs to do this, and the DA needs. Once they have blood in the water, I can't even say what I really want to say, but one of the most important things I think about your movie, and I hope that inmates get to see it, is the whole thing. If you're really innocent, don't take that.
Okay. Listen, at some time in our life, all of us have to stand up for something. Some of you may already made that stand already, right? But what I'm telling you now is that do not be afraid or care what others may say about your stand. That is your stand. And stand on it and continue. Because we see the effects of making plans, starting something, and never completing it. That is some of our lives, cycle going on in circles, starting something and never finishing it. Start to finish something. All right, each of us start to finish something, and let's move ahead, man, because we know that we in still waters, man. Let's go on some rough seas, man. Let's have some fun, right? But we have to move. Each and every one of us, man, you know, myself included, right? Old, young. I met a 22-year-old state representative in Tampa Bay, not Tampa Bay, Baltimore. He making laws, 22. Let's have some more up there.
Yeah.
You know, Matt, I think one thing that's interesting to me about this is that I grew up in Queens in the 80s. And my interest in writing about issues of criminal justice came from, like Nnamdi, my experience with the NYPD. And it's the crack era, where, you know, cops would come, grab you up, throw you on the ground, search you. I mean, all sorts of things. It was like lawlessness with the hands of, you know, the law. And we all know, or those of us who care to know, how common these stories are. But we don't see these stories on the screen very often. And we don't see these realities acknowledged. And I wondered, when you first sent me the screener, like, how difficult was it to actually get this story made, to make this film? And were there obstacles that you encountered with that?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the story, so I heard the story in like 2010, and I thought like I was going to be the first filmmaker to approach them and try and get the rights and have the opportunity to tell the story. So I chased down the reporter and then met with them, and they told me that I actually heard a rerun and that it had come out 5 years earlier, and a big Hollywood studio had optioned the story and then sat on it for 2 years and never scripted it. Then another studio optioned it and never scripted it. So by the time I came around, they'd been waiting for years for somebody to do anything with it. And I think, I don't know what their reasons were, but usually it's motivated by money and the perception of profitability. And so by the time I came around, I was a very welcome change, an independent filmmaker living in Brooklyn at the time. And then, just approaching it from sort of the ground up, it was just trying to do as much we could as ourselves, and then, go to everybody in the world and hope that one person would say yes. And so it was just a lot of persistence, and just took a little longer than your average movie.
There was a person back here with a question. One, and then two, and then okay, one. Here, let's do this really quickly. You ask your question as succinctly as possible. You ask your question right after that, as succinctly as possible, and then we'll try to deal with it, both questions at once. All right, go.
I was wondering if you guys heard from the politicians, from the distributions ever, and if what kind of feedback they had on
Okay, your question.
I'm actually living right now on Union Street in Brownsville, and I was wondering, I feel like institutions like Sundance, and then even coming here to the IFC Center, these are very specific locations that draw very specific patrons. But for the people that are living in Brownsville and Crown Heights and the people that are living there, this might not be as accessible to them. So what sorts of things are you guys working towards to get that to the people that this is surrounded with?
So the question is about the responses of people who are elected officials, people who are responsible for this situation, and also about the accessibility of the film to people in other communities, particularly communities where things like this are still happening.
The first question, I have not even received an apology. But that is good. It's expected. You cannot be surprised once you know somebody's behavior and they act accordingly. If I didn't get us an apology, you should be surprised then, right? But be that as may, what can somebody tell you for taking 21 years of your life? What will be acceptable to you?
The movie opened at Court Street in downtown Brooklyn tonight as well, so it is in Brooklyn. And for the smaller films, being on a couple screens is kind of, is big for a little movie like this. So, hopefully we're just trying to get the word out that it's Lincoln Plaza, Court Street in Brooklyn, and it'll expand, I think, to potentially, more theaters in Brooklyn if people show up for it this weekend.
Yeah, as the film does better for smaller films, they have to perform well, and then you'll start to see it in more theaters.
By performing well, we have to go. We have to tell people. That's the only way more people will see this movie. I love the power.
Can we thank everyone for